was going to say that kind of leads into another topic that I wanted to talk about in terms of employer harassment when an individual makes a workers' compensation claim. We're talking about good practices here, right? So often I'll get clients who come to me and say, perhaps they even already have a workers' compensation claim open, but now they're looking for an attorney to assist them because, let's face it, most people don't really understand workers' comp and how it works and the nuances there of that area of law. But their biggest fear is, what if I get my employer mad at me and they start harassing me at work? I already feel kind of different because, maybe they already have work restrictions, but they're working. And the number one thing I tell them is that the law provides protection for them, that their employer is not allowed to harass or otherwise discriminate against them for making a workers' compensation claim. But that doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm. So
go ahead, Carlos.
So Jennifer, what does it mean to harass, right? Because I'm sure most people don't believe that they're harassing someone, right? Oh, no, I don't do that. I don't harass people. I just ask them 20 times a day on why they're still here, why they haven't left, but I'm not harassing them. I just want to know.
Right.
Right. I think what else, and I'm sure Jennifer can add on to this, I've seen cases where what happens is sometimes it's good-natured joking, right? Oh, this person can't do this, or because of X, Y, and Z, and it can spiral pretty quickly out of control. One of the things I always cringe at when I see group texts where you're teasing someone about something, it could be innocuous initially. It could be like sometimes people make fun of, oh, you can't bend over because of you have a bad back. But if it becomes a repetitive, that's what harassment to me is. Like, people may think they're joking. And I'm sure Jennifer can talk about this a little bit more. And Jennifer, maybe you can give us a better example. So.
No, I would agree. There's some people who maybe I think are sensitive, and then there's something that rises to the level of, okay, every day they go into work and you're just writing them every hour. Did you do this? Did you do that? I'm writing you up for just stuff that's silly, right? Trying to make their experience at work just so difficult that you hope that they go away, right? If it's rising to that level, then I would think that's harassment.
Actually, it's interesting. It reminded me of something else. I had a client called me. It was a small office practice, and person didn't really want anyone to know that they were injured, that they had filed a claim. And the supervisor would keep asking, and the cubicles were, the office cubicle setup, would be asking loudly, or are you still going to the doctor? How's it? And I know it's not a concern, but the fact that it is daily, and the fact that I think you mentioned the word HIPAA, you avoid talking about people's medical conditions for whatever reason, even if it's not a concern, because if you do it all the time and do it in front of others, especially when an employee tells you, hey, I want to keep this private, you might want to keep it private. So.
I don't have...
Well, that's actually...
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
Sorry, go ahead. I was going to say that's a good point, because I do advise clients that they are required to give their work status to their employers so that the employer knows they're able to work or work with restrictions or whatever it may be. They have to, by law, they have to be in communication regarding their work status. But the employer is not entitled to know all their treatment and the diagnoses and what's happening. Talk to your adjuster if you're looking for an update on something.
So yeah, one of the things I was going to mention is I don't have the case in front of me, but one of the biggest cases was when it was like a receptionist or someone asked an employee about an employee's husband and asked them about their cancer diagnosis in public, in front of other people. That was one of the biggest cases where there was a big settlement. I'm not even sure if it was a settlement. I should find it. But yeah.
I hesitate. I'm cringing only because, there are things that just shouldn't be discussed at workplace, right? And I think most people do understand that. I struggle sometimes because as an employer, I do I do also empathize with employers because they do care about their employees. It's just finding a balance between overdoing it and being respectful, and sometimes asking, are you still injured repetitively, even if you're trying to be, because you want them to get back to work with you. Whatever you're thinking could be, right? It could be misconstrued, because ultimately discussing medical history for whatever reason is problematic. It really is, especially at the workplace.
Don't do it. No
That's
advice
the
from
job.
women.
Yeah, that's the job of your adjuster, the defense attorney, to look into that. I've had friends that are employers that have contacted me and say, "Oh, I have this bogus workers' comp claim. They're just claiming everything under the sun." And I take that with a grain of salt, because I know they're coming from it at a different perspective. But they say, they want to tell me all the things. Oh, he said this. He went and did. He lifted this heavy whatever when he wasn't at work. And I'm like, you know what? Tell your adjuster that. Tell, the people that are representing you, and they're going to use that information.
I wanted to touch a little bit on that, because, the reality is that it does happen. I dealt with a former employee that wasn't happy being let go, and they decided to file a labor claim, decided to file a workers' comp claim, decided to file a wrongful termination claim. I mean, everything under the sun. So it does happen. It sucks when that happens, because it gives these kind of structures a bad name, because people want to believe that sometimes people are out there to take advantage of it. And let's be honest, if you have a crappy employee that makes a workers' comp claim or any kind of claim, unfortunately, sometimes you don't want to believe them, right? But it's such a big risk to do that, because when you put your judgment instead of someone else's, when you become in that judgmental position, it's just a bad idea. It doesn't matter if they're a crappy employee or you don't like them, you just got to do the process.
Right.
And part of discipline is allowing yourself to go through the process even when you don't want to. Right? So we're all aware of that, right? It's, okay, well, I don't feel like doing it with this person because I know he doesn't care about his job. He comes in late all the time, and so let's just shortcut the process. Never shortcut the process.
When I hear stuff like that, I start cringing, because I'm like, yeah, don't give me let's talk about what's really at hand. Let's not go into the side topics of, well, this person did X, Y, and Z. They never showed up on time, and it's very convenient that they slipped in. Yeah, don't make those claims. You're not the expert. You don't know what you know.
Document this? Do you show that he has been late? Did you have a conversation with him? Do you have a file on that? Is he aware of your concerns? Right? That's what documentation means. Documentation doesn't mean, oh yeah, I told him when I saw him walk in at 9:30 that he needs to be here on time. That's not documentation.
So Jennifer, we can wrap this up, but I do want to know, like, what's a pet peeve of yours? Like, what's something that drives you like absolutely nuts when an employee walks in or a potential client walks in and tells you something?
Well, just as you were talking here, it popped in my head that, there's some potential clients and having consultation there. Oh, I have an ulcer. This is an example of one recently. I have an ulcer. It's been bothering me for over a year. And it happened when I was lifting. He does displays at like the market, different sodas or whatever. But I didn't tell my employer because I didn't want to, I needed to work. I needed the money. And but now it's so bad that I want to make a workers' compensation claim. But before coming to you, I've never said anything to my employer. I've never gone to the doctor. That's where I'm judging, gauging where that is, and that's not a claim I want.
Documentation works both ways.
Right, it does.
I love the employee that tells me I've never taken a lunch, I never got a rest break, I worked all day. And I'm like, really? Come on, like, let's just be realistic. Let's not do that. I understand you may have missed a lunch or two. I always hesitate when I have an employee that tells me I never got a lunch break. To me, that's a red flag. So I'm like, that means, no one's going to believe that. They just won't. And I think that makes I do think about it from a trial perspective, that how believable are they going to be on the jury stand? Because the jury's going to look at them, on the witness stand. And if they're not believable, it's going to be a problem for us too.
Right. I tell clients that, especially, at the time of their deposition, this claim is based on entirely on your credibility. And if we can't trust, what you're telling us about, be truthful about everything, right? And sometimes when it comes up during the depo, they want to ask them about prior motor vehicle accidents. Their first instinct is to say no, because why is that relevant? Why do they need to know about it? Tell the truth about everything. That shows that you're telling the truth now too, right?
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks, Jennifer, for all the questions. It was super helpful. I love the fact that you took the opportunity to send us questions, and I'm hoping we can kind of keep doing this.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think it's great. I love it.